reviewing the entire season of Lower Decks, season 5. And I'm here, I'm joined again by the Nerdiest Prime crew, Alan O'Neill and Namir. And so...
I don't have a last name, it's just Namir.
You're like Cher or Madonna.
Or Toto.
Do I have a name?
So let's do our first impressions. Now, this is the first time we're doing the actual full season. Usually we do individual episodes. But this time we're doing the whole season. What's your first impression of the entire season? Let's start with Amir.
Well, I'm a huge Lower Decks fan, so I really loved it, and I had to binge a lot of it because I sort of fell behind in watching the episodes, so I watched like 5 in a row, and it was great. Like, it's so good, it's so well written, it's great Star Trek. I love the show. I'm sad that it's being canceled. You know, the one thing that I will say is that I did find the earlier seasons funnier. I think the early seasons, like with Badgie, had me kind of really like laughing out loud, and this was more like a little chuckle, like that's funny, and then but the story is strong enough that it kind of carries you through. But that's a minor kind of quibble. I think Lower Decks is great. It's definitely my favorite of the new Trek.
Alan.
Well, it's no Discovery. I thought that was your favorite of the new Trek.
That's for darn sure.
No, well, I'm glad Namir just had a last minute blitz through the episodes, because I guess since I've been watching it on a weekly basis, my memory of the entire season overall is kind of foggy. But I did look on the internet though to see the episodes, kind of remind myself what I thought of things real quick. So, but yeah, it's been I had a great opinion of this season. I feel like it got stronger as it went along. I did like probably the back half more than the front half, but I mean, it's hard to really get too hard on it because it's such an enjoyable show. It's made with such love and such care, and I mean, thinking about looking back at the whole 5 years, I mean, this is a show I thought was gonna be a stain on the Star Trek legacy when I kind of saw it at the beginning, and then I grew to love it. Like it became so much. It became like it's better Star Trek than some of the live action stuff now. So really, so I mean, it's so creative, and it's very funny. The deep cuts references are appreciated. If you're like my daughter, who's watched it with me all 5 years, who knows nothing about the legacy of Star Trek, she thinks it's just funny and goofy, and so it works on for anyone who's in the audience. But yeah, it's been a great ride, and I'm also sad to see it go. Let's see. Hopefully, since it's animation, there's always a door for it to be opened again down the road. So hopefully they do something else with these characters.
Well, so what kind of stain were you thinking it was going to be like, and did you think it was going to be as much as stain as these other episodes, like these other series like Discovery and Picard?
Discovery.
Yeah.
I do still stand by the fact that Picard season 2 is still the worst season Star Trek ever made. So, I mean,
So I've always really liked Lower Decks, but for some reason, either I just gotten tired of the show, or the 5th season is not as good as the rest of the show. And I think my general impression of the show as season 5, as I've been watching the episodes, is this is so formulaic. Like every episode has the same kind of beats and the same kind of like. There's always like a joke, and then there's a heartfelt moment where somebody realizes that they had misjudged the whole situation, and Jarn, and then Mariner does something, or and it's just like I this time was feeling very like kind of bored with the formula, and in fact, I think Shades of Green I disliked so much that I didn't even finish watching it. I just skipped to the next episode. And because I wasn't also invested with the storylines. I know there was a whole thing where was all these arcs, and I just don't care about Tendi going back to the Orion planet and all that stuff. That's having said that, I did really enjoy the last episode, and I thought but they kind of did the same thing in this season that they did in season 4, where they were like there was an overall mystery that that they're trying to solve, um, and so it wasn't really doing it for me. But anyways,
I mean,
I don't
can
really.
I?
Yeah.
Sorry, do you want me to respond to that, or do you want to, Alan?
I was just gonna say I didn't really think there was an overall storyline. There was like little hints dropped here and there, but I didn't really feel like it was like last season where it was like a continuous mystery. It was just kind of like, oh, we're fixing a couple holes here and there. Like for the most part, I feel like they didn't really have an arc this season. It was more standalone. And then, the little nuggets that were dropped here and there throughout the season just all came together in like the last 2 episodes. So I mean,
Yeah,
I didn't think there wasn't really a quantum fissure reality tripping storyline that really went through this whole season. I didn't think.
I also think, Lucas, that you've just kind of described what makes a good TV show, and you just have not seen good Star Trek, so you don't know what that looks like. Like it's funny moments and with really strong character moments, and those kind of alternate, and there's like a really good arc. Like that's all I want from Star Trek, and Lower Decks consistently kind of delivered that, whereas the other shows really didn't. So in as far as there is a formula, yeah, the formula is good TV and good writing. Like I'll take that formula, like hands
no, I
down.
don't think so. To me, it seems formulaic and kind of boring, and I don't want to be mean, but it just feels a little lazy if it's the same beats every episode in the same way every. I'm not surprised. I'm not ever surprised. It's just like, oh, it's the same thing. Oh, she's
You
a
do realize there was like all through Star Trek been a formulaic show the whole time, right?
Yeah, like I don't understand your point because all these shows are incredibly formulaic.
Yeah.
No,
They're
we're right that the Star Trek tends to be formulaic, but I don't think that they have the same beats in each episode repeatedly the same each time, and I feel like in Lower Decks, at least in this season, it certainly felt that way.
I don't know. I don't know. It's always, Kirk goes into someplace head first. Spock is like, maybe we should do some science around this. Bones is like, you're crazy. But then they go down and, Kirk has
I'm
to
not talking
defeat
about
some
the
sort of
interactions of the
alien and then leave.
characters. I'm not talking about the interactions of the characters. That makes sense that they're going to be fairly consistent. I'm talking about really the plot of each episode and how, there's like, for example, I'll just use a different example, and Devil in the Dark. So the whole formula of Devil in the Dark is there's a evil alien or perceived to be evil alien. They're trying to figure out this mystery of who the alien is. They think it's evil, but then it's not evil. It's the mom trying to protect its eggs, and then now we're all Star Trekky about it, and we've like learned about ourselves and the universe.
Hmm.
Now the next episode is not the same story. It's like a totally different story, but maybe 5 episodes later we'll have something similar to that. And so and then the way that Lower Decks feels is very kind of like each episode is kind of a carbon copy, sort of in terms of its plotting, exactly the same.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to belabor the point, but I think you're wrong. Like the only episode to me that was like Devil in the Dark this season was the Starbase 81. And the other ones were really really different. Like there was that episode where they talked about the bridge crew and they followed them in different storylines. There was Tendy's arc. There was the two-parter last episode. So I don't know, and maybe that's it too. Like it's not like 26 episodes, right? It's only, I don't know how many episodes there were, like 10, something like that.
Mm.
So you're gonna have, like, you only watch 10 episodes, there's gonna be two of them that feel similar, right? Because they're so kind of close together. So I bet that if it was like 26 episodes or 28, it wouldn't be like that, right? But if you look at it really closely, there's probably still only three or so types of episodes, and they just rotate through them.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
I
this
guess
too, you
I
got
mean,
it's like it's a comedy too, so it has to be, a comedy first, you know. It's not they're not going to have a courtroom drama episode without jokes or anything like that. Like, I mean, so I guess you get that with the
But I
live
think
action stuff.
I think but I think more. I think that my where I'm coming from at is because I've been involved in animated TV shows. In terms of the producing and the writing, I really see when that there's a formula. There's an animated TV show formula in general, and it's not just a Star Trek thing. It's like in a general thing, and so it's maybe I'm just seeing it more than you guys are. And but at the end of the day, like if you guys had a good time, great. But I was kind of slightly bored the whole time and irritated. And I could see that they were doing what they could, but it's not how I was feeling when I saw the other series. But I did feel like, and this happens often, I think, in comedy, like sort of space comedy, like what am I trying to say? Like there's the Orville, but there's also uh, what's the show, Alan? Prepare for immediate starburst show. Uh, anyways,
Are you talking about Farscape? We always,
yes. Well,
Is that a
Farscape
comedy?
started.
I
No, but
mean,
it
it
started
has
very
some
light.
elements, yeah.
It was like puppets, and it was very like light at the beginning, and then as it went along, it got darker and darker and darker. Then everybody was wearing black leather by the end, and it was like, oh, it's kind of this thing where the Orville was the same thing. The first couple of episodes, the first half of the first season was all jokes, ha ha ha.
Well, there was a big tone shift there.
He stole my leg, and then by the end, it's like love stories and genocide stories and this kind of thing. And I just think it's like either people just run out of comedy steam, or they just get bored of comedy, and then they need to do something that's
I think in
more
the case of
serious
the
and,
Orville, it got
and dramatic.
retooled anyway. That's,
Yeah, but I
six.
like that when that happens. I like it when a show does something surprising. Like, Buffy's a good example, right? It starts off a little bit lighthearted, it's pretty funny, et cetera, et cetera. And then,
Darkness.
yeah, like her mom dies in season 3 or something. Like
Darkness.
I mean it kind of takes that turn, but I think that's great. Like that it feels meaningful to me, like that feels like, oh, these characters are, yes, they're funny, but they're also kind of real three-dimensional characters because important stuff happens to them.
I was just thinking that the Lethal Weapon series is completely opposite. The first movie is very serious. It's about suicide and mental illness and trauma and PTSD. And then by the end, it's like a family comedy by the time we get Lethal Weapon 4.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Lethal
But
Weapon 4 always makes me feel bad because of the dead wife. I always feel like Lethal Weapon 4 is pretty heavy. But anyway, you know, the froggy scene gets me
um,
every time.
yeah, well, that's a great scene. But
Yeah.
anyways, we're totally getting off
We're way,
topic.
way off track. But anyway, I will say, getting back to Lower Decks, I would say, personally, I feel like the tone has been pretty consistent through the five seasons. And I've been impressed, too, with the character growth. Like, I mean, typically in animated shows, people don't age, they don't really move on. Like, you look at Simpsons, been on for 35 years. It's They're still in, Bart's still in grade 4. Homer's still a nuclear technician. Nothing ever changes. They never age. But this year, there's growth, in their careers and their personal lives. And, I always thought it was really well done. And it didn't feel like I'm just watching, a silly cartoon. Like it felt like part of the Star Trek universe, despite all the goofy antics. Like, I will never argue that it's not canon like I do with the original animated series because I really don't like the original animated series.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you guys have a favorite episode? Let's talk about what our favorite episode was of the season. Let's start with Alan.
Of this season, um, I really enjoyed the Starbase 80 episode. I just like that they talked about this terrible space station. You know, it's been referenced several times, and then they finally go there, that was a really fun one. Um, I also really enjoyed the that episode where they're negotiating the the peace talks between the cubes and the spheres. It just those aliens had such a TOS vibe to them, and you know, and it was just that was like pure Star Trek, but done very funny. And I just love the style of it and the comedy, and yeah, that one really played well for me for laugh wise. Um, yeah, so I think those two were probably my favorites. I mean, I really enjoyed the finale too, but I mean, they went out big. Like it's easy to say, oh, I love the finale, but for the one-offs, I did enjoy the cubes and the sphere one and the Starbase 80.
What about you, Namir?
Yeah, I would say I agree with Alan. Like, I really enjoyed the Starbase 81. I thought that was a lot of fun. And one of my, what's her name? Nicole Myers from, she's from The Good Place. She's in an episode of The Good Place, and then she's in, oh, this cooking show. Nicole Byers, I think her name is. Anyway, she's in that episode, and she's hilarious. Um, and I really
Oh
liked,
yes, I know you talking.
yeah, yeah. And I really liked obviously, the last episode was great, but I actually liked the penultimate episode better. I like the one with the alternate Boimler and the crew and T'Pol and Dax, and they introduced Harry Kim again, and I was like, I wasn't expecting that, and I was like, oh my God, that is amazing. And
I,
he's
So
got
was the
the extra
cameo.
pip. Yeah, that was so great. Oh man, it was so amazing. That was a lot of fun, and it was smart. Like it was they explained it really well. Like it opening up the different quantum realities and the portals and all that, and that actual problem seemed like an actual possible physics problem that they would have had in the original series or in TNG. So they had that nice little science element, which I always love. So those two episodes were definitely my favorite.
I would say the same thing. I think also it's almost like they're like a part one, part two, and I like that Lily, is that her name, showed up in that first
Yeah,
episode.
they got Elfie Woodward. That was a
Yeah,
Hmm.
major cameo.
which is funny because I just watched First Contact for my birthday, so it was still kind of fresh in my mind. And so when I saw her, I was like, "Oh, First Contact." And I liked how um, like just they got all the guest stars coming back, but I felt like Dr. Bashir didn't sound like Alexander Siddig, and then I looked it up and it was him, and I was like, "Oh, that doesn't sound like him."
Yeah, I wasn't sure either. Like, because I mean, I guess people, they're aging or whatever, and your voice does change. It's just like with Armin Shimmerman was in there, and I mean, he didn't have his Quark teeth, so he didn't really sound like Quark. But yeah, I also was like, is that Alexander Siddig? Is that Andrew Andrew Robinson?
But
And then,
Andrew Robinson sounded like Andrew Robinson,
Yeah.
but
well, that's what I was
but
like.
and
I was
everybody,
like, it sounds like him, but the other one doesn't sound like. Is it someone imitating
mm,
them? And then I saw it was actually all the actors were there, so it's like, oh,
mm.
cool.
Yeah, I thought I thought that was fun. I liked it a lot, and I liked how it went into the next episode, and I liked the final episode. That to me felt more like it gone back to what it was originally, and I enjoyed
I like too how Starbase 80 then became the most important space station in the quadrant or whatever because it could live next to this quantum anomaly because it's so old. I was like, it kind of
that.
felt like Deep Space Nine, where they took like a derelict space station, and now all of a sudden it's the most important one in the quadrant.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
would
it's
love to see a
it's next to
Starbase
like
80 show.
basically like next to a wormhole again, but
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
a
Hmm.
quantum fissure. Yeah. Okay. Did you guys have a least favorite episode of the season?
I'd probably go with what you had said and the Tendi stuff with the Orion stuff. I felt like a lot of the Orion things, like it was cool to explore that culture, but it really felt too human. Like they acted like humans. Like I didn't feel like there was anything really unique or interesting about the Orion culture. Like it just felt like green humans. They're petty and they're greedy and they don't get along with their family. It's like, oh, I I have sibling rivalry. It was just like they didn't feel very
Well,
alien,
it
and
also
and
also felt like a
ultimately I
like like a
found it
cart
kind of
like a
boring.
cartoon. Like it sort of kind of felt like a cartoon version of Pirates, and I think when I used to be a teenager and I'd start watching Star Trek right when I started watching, and I'd heard about the Orions, and because there was I'd bought the role playing game manual or whatever, and even though I never played the game, it was just the only Star Trek related book that you could get at that point that talked about the universe of Star Trek, and they talk about the Orions in that book, and as they describe the culture as like space pirates, and you're like, man, I want to know more about them, and then we finally get to see the culture in Lower Decks, and it's just like kingdoms and farms and
Mm.
Yeah, it
everything's
just felt like
green.
Earth with green people.
Yeah.
And I did get a chuckle out of the Blue Orions from the original, animated series. It's like, oh, you make fun of our stupid uniforms. I was like, but they kind of come off as like the Packlets too, where they're kind of stupid and goofy, but yeah, I think it almost sounded like the same voices they used for the Packlets.
What was your least favorite episode, Namir?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I have like, I'm trying to remember all the episodes because I think there's a few that I actually don't remember. Like, okay, so there was the two Orion ones at the beginning, right? Because Tendi,
There was a Dos Cerritos, Shades of Green. There's a
yeah,
Best Exotic Nanite Hotel. I don't remember that one.
what's that one? Oh, that's the yeah, they go to the planet and all these nanites kind of come together. No, wait a second. Okay, that's the one I don't like. It's the one where Boimler goes down to this resort planet, I think, right? Isn't it that one?
Oh, that's the one with Jennifer and Mariner kind of
Oh, okay, yeah,
figuring
yeah,
out their relationship. Yeah, which is kind of like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that was
yeah. I wasn't a big fan of that one.
that was
That
all
one
right.
sort of didn't. Yeah, it was kind of boring. I just, I judge these episodes on how much I laugh or how much I have fun, and for some reason, that one just wasn't doing it for me. So I would say that's my least favorite.
hmm
I feel like I'd
Um,
say the back half I found was more fun than the first half.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that.
well, which I found weird because it's like they're getting canceled, but I presumably thought they would have many more years, and they were like, oh, caught off guard. Let's like pack it all in to like all the best stuff so we can finish on a high note. But it felt a lot of the episodes to me felt a little like fillers, like as if they didn't actually have
Well,
all this
they
stuff
they
planned.
they were Mike McCann said they were already well through writing the season when they got the announcement that they weren't getting renewed, and he wrote the finale not as a series finale, but it would work as a series finale. Like he didn't
Mm.
want to make that
Mm,
this is the end of the line for these characters. Like he's want to say there's still more to come, but you know all the existing storylines were kind of wrapped up. So
yeah,
yeah,
I heard that they canceled the show because they didn't want to renew Kurtzman. They're trying to figure out a way to get him out of Star Trek, and
Oh,
so
that's a
they're
good
not.
idea.
Yeah, like they can't, but so they can't have him. If any of his shows are still in production, then he has to be involved. So they have to
but
cancel everything.
But
he's on
isn't Academy?
Academy is his show. So I mean, I don't know if
Oh,
if there's much weight to that rumor.
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Oh, well, who knows? I don't know why they would have canceled Lower Decks then. It doesn't make any sense.
I think it's just Paramount is has been in the red with their streaming service. And they've had to cut things.
So
So
they make a new show called that's based on Discovery, but they get rid of the best show, which is Lower Decks.
I don't really understand the logic of it. But
Um, what else should we talk about? Let's talk about how do you feel about everybody's arc? So let's talk about Mariner's arc. She's already kind of in the last season. We kind of discovered that she's just been angry because she's trying to avoid like what was it? Taking responsibility? Was
yeah,
there a Trump?
Yeah, her arc ended last season. Like
Right.
she didn't really have an arc this season. It wasn't really about
yeah.
her.
Well,
Like,
it was just like establishing her whatever her arc was. Like she's like now ready to take on responsibility and okay with. It's like she's established herself as like she's more responsible and less like looking for a fight, but she's still kind of funny and spunky. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But that was kind of done at
But
the
she's
end of last season, right?
yeah. So I mean,
It's
this season of her just being more responsible and
yeah.
seemed like a natural progression. But I mean, there wasn't a whole lot. to really do.
Yeah, well, I think that Boimler's arc is he grows a beard.
That's why
That's
I was
his.
like, yeah,
That's
yeah. His whole, yeah. You want to say, about the Quantum Fissure storyline? I mean, that was a nothing burger for most of the season, but Boimler growing that beard, that was a continue every episode. Yeah, a little more.
yeah.
Yeah, that was great
I
because
felt that pain trying to grow a beard, and I'm like, yes, I know how hard it is to grow a beard.
you never see that in animation. Like you never see a gradual change in the main character across
Yeah,
the season.
because it's actually a real pain in the ass thing to do in animation because you have to redraw the
Yeah.
character for each episode, and what they try to do is that costs extra money, so they just want to keep the characters the same. They don't want to do a redesign. And so I thought that was kind of cool where they went and took that chance and they had to redesign his face for each different
That
episode,
was
and at the end
fun.
he has a
Yeah,
full beard, right? So
he does. Yeah,
yeah,
great.
yeah. I don't understand
He's
why his
he's
hair is
like Riker
purple.
though. He becomes more confident and more of a badass. Once he has the full beard.
I don't know if I would agree with that statement, but he does it does follow the Riker thing for sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I feel like there was a big missed opportunity of not getting Tendi and Rutherford together as a
I know.
as
I
a.
felt Rutherford was kind of rushed in the end. Like that last episode where it's like, I'm just gonna tear off my cybernetic implant and just I don't know. It seemed I don't even know exactly what was going on with him because it was so fast, and it was like, what just happened? I'm like, why is he doing this? Like, why is he all of a sudden, becoming a superstar engineer? And he's like, and tearing things off his face, and I'm like, isn't that painful? Isn't he like? It's like it's I know
Yeah,
it seemed
I don't
really
know
rushed
either.
with Rutherford because he didn't have a whole lot to do. I found this whole season, and yeah, they kind of let the romance. I thought at least they would kiss or something, and they did not.
Well,
Yeah,
you get a little bit of it at the end of the
It was a
episode,
little
at the
bit,
end of the
yeah.
last episode. So I think the idea may have been to continue that on next season, and that would have been fine. But I think there was enough there for you to basically fill in the gaps. Like
well,
I
I feel like
just
it's the
assume they're
last
gonna get
season, so
together.
really
Well,
they should have just like
and I mean, I didn't go.
consummated their relationship.
I didn't go back to it, but I thought Rutherford before the cybernetic implants was. I thought he was some sort of like bad guy, wasn't he? Like I feel like there was that episode where they explored his past and his past self was kind of an asshole or something. But that's
I
what I
think he
thought.
was like a Section 31 or something like that. He was like a test pilot or
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to go back and kind of review it because I was kind of curious. I'm like, if he takes out his cybernetic implants, isn't he going to go back to being that awful person? Because I thought he was an awful person, but I couldn't really remember from
I
because
don't
it was
think he
like
was. I
season
think
three
he
or
was
something.
like a wasn't he like a racer or something? I thought he was into
Well, that's
like
just
he
it.
was still an engineer or a mechanic. He just was not the same in terms of his personality.
Yeah, I just it was a bit foggy, and I didn't have a chance to go back and look at it to see if I was right or not. But I had to go back and look. But anyway,
Did you guys want to talk about? Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about this season? The only last thing I want to talk is talk about the finale because I think it's important to talk about that. But was there anything else before we get to that?
No, we can talk about the finale. I really enjoyed the finale.
yeah, so did I.
Yeah, yeah, I thought I did. They did a really good job, and particularly I liked that whole thing with the quantum fissure as they kept transforming into different ships into as they went through into different quantum universes or alternatives or whatever.
That
And then at some point they were like sovereign class, yeah.
that was my biggest laugh from the finale was when the Klingon ship turned into a barge of the dead or whatever. It's like, oh, they're turning into a sailing barge. I'm like, all lives lost. It was all floating. It's like, oh shit. I was like, it's bad to turn into a sailboat in space.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
that was
how did
just so off the wall and so wild. And I was like, you could probably only do that in animation. But yeah, it was a whole lot of fun to see. I didn't really understand though. Is like when the ship changes, I'm like, wouldn't some people be like outside the reconfiguration
Or in the
or
walls or
in
something.
the walls? Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Because of the
It's
Yeah,
a cartoon. It's a
it's a
cartoon space show.
cartoon.
I don't think we need to ask
Don't
those
think about it
questions.
too hard, but it was fun. It was visually a good time.
Yeah. What about you, Namir? What did you think about the last episode?
Oh yeah, like I loved the last episode. I thought it was really really it was all the things that make Lower Decks a good show, right? Great character moments, really funny, good action sequences, creative, a lot of surprises, a lot of unexpected stuff. It was a good time. I really enjoyed it. I especially like I'm so happy that Ransom became captain.
Mm.
It's like that's the show that I want to watch. And then his line at the end, oh my God, it's so hilarious.
Oh, that's great.
Engage the core.
Engage the
Like, no,
cord.
that's not going to be our thing.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
it's
was
great.
probably my favorite moment of the whole season. Just
But
that
yeah, as
right
like
there.
Lucas and I were
Yeah.
talking, I was kind of getting tired of that gag where it's like, oh, we got to come up with a catchphrase. But
Yeah.
yeah, that one worked. That joke was good. That was a good
I
one to
think
go
it
it on.
works. I think for when they make those things funny, then it works. But they're being earnest about the stupid line. Then it's kind of like it falls
Yeah,
flat.
exactly.
So I
Exactly.
think so. I remember when in Stranger Worlds where they had I think it was Human Spock or whatever, and he was like, "Make the ship go" or something like that, and that was his line.
I want the ship to go now or something like that.
Yeah. I want the ship to know, and I thought that was great. And this one was great too
That
because
one's like,
it's kind of
so,
it's sort of irreverent. I think it's like Engage is fine, and it was nice that it was a thing, but for them to like then be like every captain has to have a thing, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, that's stupid.
there's only so
I mean,
many things too. Like, how many phrases can you come up with for, you know, making the ship go?
I know.
Plus, it's not
It's
really that
ridiculous.
important. It's not.
No.
It's just
Yeah.
I know.
it's like when they did it, in the original show in the Next Generation or when and it's always Engage, and Engage is like saying action on a movie set. It's the word itself has importance in it and is interesting because it's part of lights, camera, action. Like we know what that means. But it would be dumb if then we're like, well, I'm not saying action. I'm coming up with a whole new thing, and then somehow that becomes itself kind of
Yeah, like
its
it always
own thing.
made sense within the context of
Start
what was
film
happening.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it would either be like engage or make it so or something that made sense, right?
Mm.
Like it's just an order, and
Yeah. And there
the
were some
helmsman is like,
variations on the
okay,
order, but it wasn't like a thing that they were doing.
yeah, it wasn't a catchphrase,
Yeah.
you know.
Um. Yeah. I think was I going to say something else about the? No, I think that's it. I think I like. Oh no, I didn't understand the Klingon, the antagonist in the last episode. Was she from an earlier episode? Because it kind of felt that way, but I can't remember.
She was from the Klingon episode with the two Klingon brothers and Mariner and the I forgot his name, but he was trying to get
Uh,
his captaincy back.
where
Maha.
what was that at the
Mahala,
beginning of this season?
Mahalo.
Was that the beginning of this season?
I don't remember. Somewhere in the middle. I don't know. Maybe it
Yeah,
was
it was
episode four.
the Klingon farm one, which
Yeah,
wasn't
No,
yeah,
very
yeah.
good.
I remember that episode, but I don't remember her being in the episode.
I don't know if she was, but
But she was
I
related
guess
to the guys that they killed who were trying to dishonor them, like who were
that's
like
right.
on
Yeah,
that judgment council or whatever.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So I mean, she says it, but if
She
you,
was like the equivalent to the Duras sisters, where Duras
Yeah,
got
yeah.
killed, and then the Duras sisters were like, "We need
For a
revenge."
second, for a second, I thought she was a Duras. Like when she said he killed my brother, and I was like, oh, maybe that's like now this is like the daughter of the Duras sisters.
mm,
Because remember she had a baby. She was pregnant, and the
They
TNG
dropped
episode.
that storyline like it was hot.
Yeah. Well, she had a baby, and then they died, and so the baby's still out there somewhere.
The baby might be
So,
dead
oh,
too.
I
She
thought the
didn't come
baby
up
was on
pregnant.
the ship. Wasn't the baby on the ship?
well, so we're saying that Worf killed a baby on the bird of prey. I don't think
I
that's.
mean, I'm not saying that, but it's kind of what seems to have
I'm
happened.
I'm assuming that it didn't happen, given that
Why?
Star Trek.
If you
Really?
don't see a body, they're not really dead.
Yeah.
Always a potential for a spinoff.
I mean, they probably killed a lot of innocent crew. Like I'm sure the Klingons have passengers that aren't actually part of their crew.
Here's a guy that cleans up all the Targ shit. It's like I was just sweeping. I wasn't even
Yeah.
doing anything. It's like now you
Yeah,
blew me up.
exactly. I went to teachers college.
Okay, do you guys want to do our rating of the whole season? Yes.
I guess we
Okay,
can.
Namir, you start out of 10. What do you rate this
10,
season?
Lower Decks is always great. It's always great. So, was it my favorite season? No. Did it have some of the best episodes of the show? Yeah, the one or two were pretty good. Starbase 80 and the last two finale episodes. So I'm going to give it an 8. I think that's pretty solid. It's the best of the new Trek, so it deserves a high mark.
Alan.
I'd be the same. I'd probably give this an 8. It's pretty high marks. Like I still enjoyed every joining in with the Lower Decks crew, checking in with them each week was always a blast. I really enjoyed the finale. I like that there's a door there open to even make a live action one, another animated one where they just explore alternate Star Trek universes. I think that would be a lot of fun that they did sliders with Star Trek. I think there's a lot of possibilities there that'd be a lot of fun. Whether it happens or not, but the potential is there, and and everybody's still
Yeah.
alive and well. Nobody died in this. There was no tears, no sadness. All of our characters are still out there alive and kicking. So hopefully we see them again down the road. But yeah, it was a fun ride, and yeah, I would give this an 8.
I would give this season a 6 out of 10 because
Ooh.
it's been the show's been so good, and honestly I was bored most of these shows, and I really wanted to like them, and I've always really connected with Lower Decks and really liked that show, and I felt kind of disappointed. um and really it's just the last two episodes kind of saves it, but
Mhm.
that's if I had to tell people, I would tell them don't watch season 5. I would tell them to watch all the other seasons. That's how I
I will
feel.
say I'm getting a little bit sick of the multiverse as a thing, as part of a storyline. It's
Yes, definitely.
I think it's kind of done. I understand why it's being done, right? Because it gives the creators a lot of options for storylines, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
and I have to say, like, one of my favorite episodes of Next Generation is Parallels, where that's when they start really exploring this idea of the quantum universes, and I think it's great the way they do it there. But I think it's like time travel, or any
I
of these
think
other, or the
yeah,
Borg. If you do it too much, it's not interesting anymore.
yeah, and I think too they went back to the mirror universe way too many times. But there's enough alternate universe episodes in Star Trek that are super fun and super interesting. Yesterday's Enterprise, Parallels. God, there's so many. But I would actually enjoy seeing other possibilities. I like that there's the Federation out there, or like a Starfleet that's like go just exploring quantum realities with
Yeah.
Willie Sloan. And I like the design of the ship too, because I'm pretty sure that's the same design as is in. Is that the one that's on the wall in the motion picture? Where's like all the Enterprises, and it's like the ring ship.
Oh, interesting.
Oh
Is
yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah.
is
That's that.
Lily's
You're
ship
right.
the
You're right.
same ship? I think it is. I didn't scrutinize it, but I thought that was a fun visual
Mm-hmm.
reference.
Yeah. But I always feel like the multiverse is a bit of a cop out. Like it's like, okay, we know that we messed up this show and these episodes really suck, but guess what? We can do it all again. It's just in a different universe. It's
Mm-hmm.
Well,
in
no, I
number
think
134, like it gives them a
if
bit
it's
of an out.
I think if it's just done right, like I feel with Marvel now, like I can't follow Marvel anymore. Like I stopped with Endgame because it's too confusing now with the multiverse. I tried to watch the new Deadpool movie and I understood nothing of what was going on. I was like, it's just too much, and I don't care. you know,
I
but
think I think that might be the
Star Trek,
problem.
I love it so much that if you went and visited different realities where the things that are familiar are a little off, and you do something interesting with it, and it's still you're dealing with morality and and all these things, you know, that Star Trek does so well, I think it could work. But you know, don't go crazy and stupid with it. But you know, I think it would be fun.
Very well. So that's our review of Star Trek Lower Decks season 5.
Wow, that's the
Wow,
worst closeout of
that's
any
the
of
worst
these
closeout.
episodes
We
we've
need
ever.
a new joke.
And
Be more
we'll
funny.
be back in 2025 to do continue our reviews of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and who knows where things will go from there.
Well, what's coming up? Which isn't whatchamacallit coming up?
Nothing that I want to watch.
What, you're not going to watch
No,
the Section
Strange New
31
Worlds.
movie? Section 31's coming up in 1 month.
Section 31 is coming up. Strange New Worlds is coming up.
Oh, that
What-
movie looks like
Worlds,
such
I'll
garbage. Oh, that trailer is so terrible. And the
Oh, I
second
didn't
one
know
was
there was a
just,
trailer. I didn't watch
oh,
it.
there was a teaser, and there was a second trailer now, and it's just as bad as the first. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
I want to stop recording now.
That's where in the future the things